Many people will say to you, set systems, not goals. So they have a system versus goal mindset. But today I'm here to bring a different perspective. I say set systems, not just goals. That's two different statements, y'all. I might put it on the screen so it's very, very obvious what the difference is in the statement. So in my statement, I'm saying the goals is important and the system. So it's not goals versus systems, it's goals and system. So the way to look at it is like this. Your goals is the destination. That's where you're trying to go. But your system is the vehicle that takes you there. If you have a destination and you have no vehicle, how are you going to get there, right? And if you get in a vehicle and you're driving, what is the point of that? So your system and your goals is both dependent on each other. They're codependent. So don't isolate goals by itself and don't isolate system by itself. They're both needed in order to be successful. And I could even zoom out a little bit more and say the formula to success is goals plus strategy plus systems. That is what equals winning and success. Now let me break it down for you. So you have goals, your destination, strategy, which is the path that you take to success, and then your system will be the vehicle that takes you there. So let's go back to strategy for a little bit. So your strategy is the path that takes you there. So you know how when you put in your GPS in Waze or Google Maps or whatever, you put where you're trying to go, how it will suggest like 3 different paths or 5. It will say something like this route is shorter, this one is the highway, this one is 10 minutes longer. For example, someone wants to grow on Instagram. They might choose to post every day. That's one path. Someone else might choose to run ads. That's another path. Someone might choose to buy shoutouts. That's another path. So there is many paths that you could take. Your strategy is a path that you take. The vehicle is what you use to get you there. Today, this video is going to focus on the system part, the vehicle part to get you there. This is episode 2 of the Rebrand Her Life series. Episode 1 is already up. You can check out all the videos from this series with the playlist that will be linked in the pinned comments and in the description below. By the way, Wagwan, I'm Tabia. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Now let's get right into it. Right now, looking at this formula, I bet majority of you spend your time with goal setting and strategizing. So you love to set the goals. You like to buy the cute planners and journals. You love to watch the goal setting videos and set your goals alongside your favorite creators. And you love strategizing. So you spend tons and tons of time watching videos on how to do the thing than actually doing the thing. So if I was supposed to, for example, look at how much time you spend watching videos on how to grow on Instagram versus how many time you spend creating content, your watch time is here and your work time is here. So your watch time is actually higher than your work time. I know you just got clocked, sis, but just hear me out. So all of that goal setting and strategizing, that could be grouped as conceptualization. And what you need to spend time doing if you want to materialize your goals is in construction, and that is systems. So systems is construction, goal setting and strategizing is conceptualization. Now let me put this in a way that make sense for you. So let's say your goal is to build a house. Your strategy is you planning like who you're gonna hire, how much material you're gonna buy, the neighborhood, all those things are in your strategizing, right? And then your system is the construction. It is you coming and laying the bricks day by day, right? It's you actually driving the nail with the hammer. It's the actual work that is system. So it doesn't matter how much time you spend conceptualizing and coming up with a plan. All that matters is, did you lay the bricks or not? It always comes down to that in life. It doesn't matter what you intended to do. It matters what you have done. Unfortunately, you don't get rewarded for setting goals. You don't get rewarded for what you think about. You get rewarded for what you have actually done. So your system is the part of your success formula that helps you to get things done. It is the laying of bricks day in, day out. So a lot of you guys would say, well, now I know what a system is. A system is just taking action. And I will say you are not incorrect, but a system is more than just taking actions, right? So this is what a system is by definition in the context that we're using it. A system is a structured, emphasis on structured. A system is a structured approach to achieving your goals. It is designed to make your success predictable and repeatable without relying on motivation or willpower. So emphasis is on structure. So you're not just taking any action. You're not just randomly taking actions. The key word I want you to focus on is the word structured. It is a structured way of approaching achieving your goals. Before I get into the details of building a system, you're not going to do it unless you fully understand what is the purpose of building a system. So you know what a system is now based on the analogy and definition I gave you. You understand where it comes in your success formula. But now it is time for me to let you know what the purpose is of having a system. So the purpose of implementing a system is to make our lives intentional, progressive, and organized. So let's look at the word intentional. Do you know that there is two types of people in this world? There are those that let's see what happens, and there are those that make it happen. You can live your life with intentionality and make things happen. You can make reality bend and submit to your will. So you control the controllables, because yes, I know, girl, you can't make everything happen the way you want to happen. You don't have the ultimate control. But what you do have is control over the controllables. For example, I can not control the questions that come on an exam, but I can control preparing for that exam. I can study for the exam. I can do practice tests for the exam. I could do extra classes for the exam. So you control the controllables. And my issue with the people that love to say, oh, you don't have any control over what's gonna happen. You don't have control over this and that. My thought process always goes back to when you wake up in a day and you're in your house. Who tells you when to get up out of bed? Who is in your house telling you what to eat, what clothes to wear, how to do your hair, how to do your makeup, if you should shower or not shower? Who is in your house telling you to pick up the phone and call somebody? Who is telling you to grab social media and scroll your entire life away? Who is telling you to do that? Because I'm pretty sure God, the government, your parents, nobody is with you 24 hours telling you what to do. You use your free will to do the things that you do. And I have never met a person who succeeds by accident. Even if they try to make it look like it was effortless, it's not. I promise you it's not. When you live your life with intentionality, that means that you're aware that success doesn't happen by accident and you use your free will to create the life that you want to create. A lot of you guys so far, you've used your free will to create a life that you don't want. So to summarize everything I just said about intentionality, when you live your life with intentionality, it means that you unsubscribe from I'm just going with the flow. It means that you understand that you can use your free will to create the life that you want, and that you understand that failure is the default setting of men. You know, it doesn't really take much to fail. You can just do nothing and fail, right? But success, it does require a level of intentionality. It does require a level of you using your free will to make better choices. So let's move on to the second word, which is organized. So what that means for you is that you're not going to be spontaneous with your efforts to achieve your goals. So many of you watching this, you have a very spontaneous approach when it comes to achieving your goals. So if you tell me, well, I want to be an honor roll student, and I say, okay, when are you gonna study? I don't know, whenever I get the time this week. I'll see if I'm in the mood, I'll do it actually, if I'm in the mood. So your grades as someone who wants to be on honor roll is at the mercy of how you feel and your mood. I say, when are you going to start the business? I don't know, but it's definitely a goal. I am going to do it, but I just don't know. So is it this year or the next 10 years? I don't know. I just know I'm going to start a business one day. Girl, what? That is you living spontaneously. Nothing about it is structured and deliberate. Okay, everything is vibes, moods, and feelings. And one day, someday, never day. Now you might say, girl, that doesn't have anything at all to do with success. Okay, let me put your theory to the test. Let's say you have $500,000 and you want to sponsor someone's business. Like you want to give like a business grant or something. And you want to give somebody who is most likely to succeed. There is two person that is up for this. Let's say person A and B. You ask the question, when are you going to launch? Person A says, I'll launch June. Person B says, I don't know, but it's definitely important for me. Then you ask, when are you going to get your LLC? One person says, okay, I'll get it in May since I want to launch June. The other person says, I'll see when I get the time off from work. Then you keep asking these types of questions. And every time you ask a question, person A answers is deliberate. And person B is always, I don't know, I'll see, I'll this, I'll that. Who would you want to give your $500,000 to? Who will you bet on? So you can't tell me that being organized, being intentional is not important to success, because you wouldn't give your money to a person like that. So a lot of you guys, you are very spontaneous in your approach to achieving your goals, and then you wonder why nobody's betting on you. You wouldn't even bet on yourself. Be honest. Right now, with the 3 goals that you have, with the 6 goals that you have, would you bet on you with $1 million and know for a fact that your money is safe? You wouldn't lose it. If you wouldn't do it, there's more than likely you're not living your life intentional enough, and you're living very spontaneously. So you're not structured, you're not organized. The more structured and organized a person is, the more they are likely to achieve their goals. So if you have been serious about your goals in the past, but you haven't been able to achieve them, it's because you are spontaneous as hell. You check in with your mood before you lift a finger. The task that you have to do for the day is at the mercy of what distractions is available to you or not. That's the only way you'll do work, is if you have no other option, like there's no other distraction that is calling you. And in order for you to have one productive day out of the whole month, you have to watch 12 hours of motivational content. That's a key difference between me and the other girls that create girl talk videos on these topics. Like, I'm not going to hold your hand and be soft and gentle to you. I'm going to tell you the truth, okay? I might not be the messenger that you want, but I'm the messenger that you need, okay? Because if you don't have a system, girl, I'm not going to trick you and tell you that if you say these affirmations, this is going to be your year. It's not going to be your year. You're going to go out sad unless you start to have some type of structure in your life. So the last word we said was progressive. So when you have a system, you're able to track and manage your progress when achieving your goals. Don't wait until the end of the year to see if you had achieved your goals. There is a way to know daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly if your goals are actually being achieved. Some of you don't know if you're 20% of the way there, 50% of the way there, or 90% of the way there. Being able to see how far along you are when it comes to achieving your goals can just be enough motivation for you to continue. So regardless of how you feel, if you had a proper system, you will be able to know that, listen, I've only done 5% of the work. Why do I expect all these results when I've only done 5% of the work, right? And I already mentioned that I track my progress using Notion, but more on that coming up shortly. So this chapter of the video, we're actually going to build out our system. And in order to build out our system, you have to first know, what does a system contain? So here are the ingredients for building out a system. If you're going to bake a cake, you need to know, what do you need in what measure? So I'm going to basically read the components because I might forget something if I leave it to memory. So let's go. First, you have process and procedures, task and to-do list. That's next. Next, we have events. So those are your time commitments. More on that later. You have schedule and calendars. You have habits and routines. You have progress tracker. You have templates, automation, tools. So tools include things like apps, software, books, planners, etc. that you will use in your overall system. Now you might notice that all of that is too much for any person's brain to be walking around with. And you would be right. I think it was Henry Ford, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, that said the shortest pencil is better than the longest memory. So don't trust your memory to keep track of all these different things that you need to do. Instead, you should write it down. Now that we're in the modern age, we don't have to depend on literal pencil and paper. What he's basically saying is, get it out of your head and somewhere that you can reference later. So basically, all of these things that we just talked about, it's supposed to be retrievable. Therefore, you need a second brain. I built out my second brain in Notion. That's where it stores everything that has to do with my system. There was a time when I used a whiteboard on my wall. There was a time when I used the notes app, but I outgrew all of them when I realized I needed something even more systematized and that had more automations and something that was just more useful. So that's when I made the switch to Notion. But I have a video that's going to be in this Rebrand Your Life series where I will go over like how to build out your very own second brain to manage your entire system. I will give you a tour of the one I use, and I'll also make the templates available to you in that video. So make sure you subscribe. So I just gave you guys a list of things that your system should entail if it's going to be effective. So I want to zoom in on a few of those points. All right, so the first component I want to dive deep into is process and procedures. So your process and procedures is basically the steps and actions that you will take to create a specific outcome. So the way I like to look at process and procedures when it comes to system is that your process and procedure is whatever you have to do to make your strategy true. So let's take, for instance, your goal is to get 100,000 podcast downloads, right? And your strategy is to post one weekly episode. Your process and your procedure is whatever you have to do in order for that to be true. So what steps must you take? So you might have to look up ideas. You might have to sit down and record it, edit it, put it on those podcast hosting platforms. I don't really know a lot about podcasting, to be honest. So basically all those things that you have to do is your process and your procedure. So it is the what must I do to make it true that I upload one podcast episode weekly without fail with the same level of consistency and quality in the end result. A lot of you guys, you have goals. and strategy, but you have nothing to make that true. For example, you have a business goal of making $5,000 with your small business. Your strategy is to use Instagram and TikTok to drive free traffic, but you do not have any process and procedure to make that true. When I was really pushing my digital product, the strategy was the same: drive free traffic from social media to my landing pages. The system that I put in place, the process and procedure, was to batch create content on a Monday that would last me for 1 to 2 weeks. So a lot of you guys, you have goals, you know your strategy, but you do not have process and procedures, right? So your process and procedures is what you must do. It's the what part of your system. Okay, so you need to identify what are the steps I must take in order to bring my strategy to life. Next up, we have events, and that is your time commitments. So your events is something that has to happen at a specific time, and it typically involves other people. So this would be your meetings that you have to show up to. It would be places that you would have to go in person, like a birthday party, weddings, dinner dates in general. It could be a virtual event like going live, and you told your audience you were going to go live, so they have the expectation to meet you at that time. You made a time commitment. That's an event. You know, as content creators, you tell everyone, I'm going to do weekly uploads of my podcast or weekly uploads of my YouTube videos. And so people have that expectation that you will be there. That's a event. That's a time commitment. While you're running your system or while you're creating your system, you have to remember your time commitments that you have outside of things related to your goals, because a lot of people, the reason why they can't follow their schedule and their to-do list, etc., is that they did not put into consideration their time commitments that they've made with other people. So it distracts them. Their productivity system breaks because they weren't aware or top of mind of the different commitments they have outside of their goals. So planning that you're going to work 10 hours for the day when you know that you have your anniversary that day and you need to spend time with your husband is crazy work, right? And then you say, oh, see, I knew I can't be consistent, and I know these scheduled things don't work because I put that I was going to work and I end up having to go and have this anniversary dinner. No. While you're making your schedule, etc., and other things that are part of your system, you should have been putting it on your calendar that you have these events coming up, so that you plan in a way that you can stick to it and not break your system because of like neglecting mentally what you have coming up and what you have going on outside of just achieving your goals. Your life is more than just achieving your goals, right? You're not a robot. So you have other things outside of that. So you need to be aware of every single event that you have coming up. So another important part of your system is your habits and your routines. Habits are not routines, and routines are not habits. So your habit is something that you do automatically without much thought or effort. It is very automatic. You don't have to think about it. It doesn't require a lot of consciousness for you to do it. That's a habit, right? So scrolling on Instagram and habit, brushing your teeth and habit, spreading your bed before you wake up. What? Spreading your bed after you wake up. A routine is performed intentionally and in a specific order, and it does require you to be very conscious, and it takes effort for you to do it. So the key word there is in a specific order. So a routine tells you that you're not just doing a one-off thing, right? It is a series of things that you're going to do, and you do it in a specific order. That's what makes something a routine. So a habit could be you typically love to read for 30 minutes for the day, or you like to listen to a podcast whenever you are driving. You're not thinking about it. You just do it all the time, automatically, without effort, without thought. It's just something that you do almost naturally, right? So a routine is, like I said, it's a series of action done in a very specific way, and it does take conscious effort. So for me personally, this is my routine that I have. One of them is my morning routine. So I've stuck to this routine for almost 2 years, if it's not already 2 years, without fail. And this is what I do. I wake up, I spread my bed, I brush my teeth, I read the Bible, then I pray. After that, I go and I eat my breakfast. And the reason why this is a routine is because it has to be done in that specific order. I don't pray, then read the Bible. Like I have to read the Bible, then pray, because sometimes when you read the Bible, it inspires your prayer as well. So that's why it's kind of smart to do that first, but not to get into spiritual practices, my love. I'm just saying, a routine is something that it's a series of actions, I would say, and it is done in a specific order. I don't eat first and then come back and say, okay, it's time for me to brush my teeth. No. So I follow a very specific order, and it does take conscious effort, because sometimes when I wake up, social media is screaming my name. Sometimes when I wake up, I just want to go do my work. I just want to get right into work. But when you have a routine in place, you have to be a little bit more conscious, and it takes more effort than if you just simply had an habit. For now, you can identify, okay, based on the goals that I have, what are some routines and habits that I want to build? So far we talked about procedures, events, and routines and habits. All of those is a what you should do, and you should remember that every what needs a when. If your what you should do doesn't have a when, you are living spontaneously. And we already talked about the fact that when you have a system, you cannot be spontaneous. So every single what that you have needs a when. There is something I love to say to myself whenever I feel like I'll just remember something. I say to myself, if it's not on my calendar, the due date is never, which means I'll keep putting it off until it never ever happens. Therefore, guys, you need schedules and you need calendars to help you. You're supposed to be able to pull up a monthly view and be able to see what your month will look like, okay? Now, this is the last part of the video, and sis, don't go nowhere until I make this point, okay? Let's defy the statistics right now, because the statistics say that humans are starting to have the attention span of a goldfish and that people don't watch long videos. Either way, I still create my long videos because I know you're not like that and you'll watch it until the end. Now, I know some of you watch this video and I talked a lot about being structured, organized, having routines, habits, procedures, knowing your events that's coming up, and a lot of those things. And some of you guys are thinking to yourself, that is way too much structure. I like flexibility. I like to just live. I like to just go with the flow. You might be saying, I don't want to live that robotic, sis. Like, what if I don't want to live the way you live?
But what if this isn't what I want? I mean, what if I don't want to live the way you live?
Oh, don't be ridiculous, Andrea. Everybody wants this.
So to the person that is saying this is too much structure, I don't want to live robotic, this is exactly what I will say to you. You're not going to be scheduled every single waking hour and second of your life. You will just have productive blocks. So some days I have a 5-hour productive block. Some days I have a 2-hour productive block. Some days just an hour. Some days it's none at all. Okay, my Jamaican accent just chose to come out because I don't know how else to say it. Like, some days I don't have any productive hours. Me not have no productive hours sometime, right? Especially on days like Saturdays, I just take the day off. On Sundays, I take the day off. So I don't always have productive blocks, okay? So I'm not saying that you need to live like this all the time and be in work mode, grind mode every single day. Like, no. And the good thing about when you have productive blocks in your day, that's when you would use your schedule, your to-do list, etc., is when you have your productive blocks. Now, one thing I realized that came from me living my life this way is that when I'm in my non-productive hours, I enjoy myself without the guilt. So if I knew today I was only supposed to do 2 tasks and I did it in 3 hours, now when I go and I watch 5 episodes on Netflix, I don't feel no way, girl. I don't feel no ways.
I don't feel no ways. I don't feel any way about it.
I don't feel no way because I know I did what I was supposed to do for that day, and I have my calendar where I can see what I'm supposed to do for the month, so I don't feel guilty about what is supposed to come up and what I have to do another day, because I know that those will be taken care of. I have peace. I have stress-free, non-productive hours. So that is one of the good things about living your life in such a structured way and having a system. You get to enjoy your non-productive hours without worrying about what you're not doing. I heard Jeff Bezos said something one time in an interview. He says stress doesn't come from doing what you're supposed to do. It comes from avoiding doing what you're supposed to do, and that is so true. I've experienced that myself. I cannot enjoy myself fully knowing at the back of my mind that I have more important things that I should be doing. So some of you might say, sis, I don't know. I still think that having all these calendars and planning my weeks, my days, my months, it's too much of a prison. This is what I'm going to say to you. As human beings, we have this habit of calling good bad and bad good. If having a system and living your life organized, structured, and intentional is going to give you the time freedom, give you early retirement, give you academic success, give you promotion in your career and advancement in life, how is it a prison? That is freedom. If having a few hours of your day that you structure is what's going to give you freedom, true freedom, not freedom where you're suffering with the freedom. So you have a lot of time and you're broke. You get to do whatever you want and live carelessly with no structure, no discipline, but at the end of the day, you're in pain. Does that make sense? You have the freedom to eat whatever you want and do whatever you want, but you're in the pain of being overweight and not being confident. So sometimes we have to look at it when we're talking about, I just want to do whatever I want. You see, some of us, we have already come in terms with that. Listen, there are some things that I'm not going to want to do. But in order to have the most important things in life, I have to suffer a little bit. I have to be bored a little bit. I have to deny myself pleasure a little bit. So you not having habits, you not having calendars, you not having any system in your life, and calling that freedom is actually a golden handcuff, because it's what's keeping you stagnant, stuck, and delayed. Now that is the end of this episode. Make sure you subscribe and check out the links that I have in the pinned comments and in the description for the full series. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.